Hey guys, this week at the Quest, week 6, we talked about doing everything in love. So our verses that have been guiding us this whole time in our series, Act Like Men, is 1 Corinthians 16, 13, 14. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. And then this is what we talked about today. Let all that you do be done in love. And so when we talk about this idea of doing everything in love, what does that really look like? What does that mean? Are we just supposed to be kind and happy and nice to everybody? Or what does it really mean to do everything in love? And I think today we talked about, we take our cue from God and what it means to love others. And so we looked at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. Familiar passage if you've ever been to a wedding. Love is patient, love is kind, all those traits. And we did a self-assessment, and we said, are we all of these things that we're supposed to be if we're acting in love, or maybe do we need to work on them? And I think all of us, it was revealed that we have a lot of work to do. So when Paul says to do everything in love, it seems like a tall order, maybe an impossible task, but I think Paul calls us to do it, that God through Paul calls us to do everything in love, that it is possible through God's strength and help. And so that's what we set to do. We looked at Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. And in those passages, it really fully explains the love of God as seen through Christ. It's a love that we didn't deserve. Ephesians 2, 1 through 3 talks about we're dead in our trespasses and sins, that we're disobedient, that we've actually followed the ways of the world and of Satan. It talks about us being depraved, that we follow our cravings and appetites of the flesh. What does that mean? That means any desire that I have that's ungodly, that in my sin, I just tend to follow those. If I want it, I'll get it. If it feels good, I'm going to do it. So I'm depraved, but last I'm damned. That verse, Ephesians 2:3, says, I'm an object of wrath. In other words, that's my destiny if I continue in my sin. So that's who I am. I'm all of those things in my sin apart from God. But it says, but God, Ephesians 2:4, but God, who's rich in mercy, with a love with which he loved us, made us alive in Christ. We're alive in Christ. And he says he seated us with Christ in the heavenly realm. So we have a place of privilege and of favor and blessing. He said that he's going to show his incomparable riches of his grace. So of tremendous wealth. Not a material wealth, but a wealth of grace available to us. His mercies are new to us every morning, that we're loved. I mean, we are loved. We once were damned, but now we're loved. There's no condemnation for those in Christ. And so knowing that and breathing that and meditating on that on a continual and consistent basis helps me love others. Because if I'm trying to draw for myself to do everything in love, it's just not going to work out. And so I need God's love to fuel me to love others. And so we applied that. There's a definition in the book we're reading, at the Act Like Men book, that James MacDonald, the author, says, love is simply this, you before me. That love is you before me. Philippians 2 passage, verses 3 and 4, he says that we're not to do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. And so if I'm to love others, I'm to consider them more important, more valuable, their needs, their wants, more important than myself. And so we applied that today. How do I love people? How do I put you before me? So 3 areas. We talked about our wives. How do we put them before ourselves? How do we love them? And so we talked about ways of nourishing and cherishing them. How do we make them feel loved? And consider them before us. We talked about other fellow believers in Christ, other brothers in Christ. How do we initiate relationships that help build up others in Christ? How do we find time in groups or at lunch to meet with them and speak truth and life into other people? And then last, the world. How do we love people that maybe we don't know, but we rub shoulders with every day? Maybe at the office, maybe at the ball field, maybe at the grocery store. How do we love them? And that's being proactive. That's actually taking initiative and maybe talking to people and taking initiative in finding ways to love them, to find ways that would minister to their needs. And so we talked about do everything out of love. That love isn't just a mushy emotional feeling, a romantic feeling, but love is proactive. It takes courage, it takes strength to really put you before me, because I want to look after my own interest, not yours. But God's called me to do the opposite. And so that takes strength and courage on my part to love you, to put your needs above mine, just as Christ did. And so that's week 6 of the quest.